You are off the clock with Trish and Steve. Hey, Steve Bose.
Hey, Trish.
I
Happy
should say, hey,
President's Day.
stranger. I haven't seen you in a week. I mean, like, laid eyes on you.
Well, you haven't missed much. I've gotten, I have not gotten any more interesting. Or
No. Did you have a good vacation?
it was a working vacation. Emphasis on vacation, probably
Oh,
over the working part. But yeah, it was good. It was a good break. Today, I'm trying to reconcile working, quote unquote, with just solemnly recognizing and honoring many of our fine presidents we've had in our nation, as today is
that's right.
President's Day. And I'd imagine a lot of people are off today.
They are. And you know what? It's funny. I came back. I was in Chicago over the weekend, and I came back and I did not realize, like, it just didn't dawn on me, like, my kids were off school till like midnight. I'm like, oh, wait, they're going to be home tomorrow. So,
Were you like trying to
anyway.
kick them out the door at like 7:30 in the morning?
I was trying, yeah, I was like, "What? Wait a minute, don't I
Go
get a
do
moment by
something. Get out
myself?"
there.
No, actually, we live in the Midwest, and so, a little bit removed from St. Louis City, right? We're kind of out in the farm areas,
Mhm.
even though we're not farmers, and they're part of, FFA. That's a big deal at their school. So, they're doing a
Which is
bowling
what? Help me out. What is that?
Future Farmers of America.
Oh,
But the reason that so many kids in our school anyway do it, and I'm sure other schools, is because they teach them about agriculture. They teach them about, like, they're taking classes in like veterinary, information, that sort of thing. So there are classes beyond just, sort of farming, anything with horticulture, things like that. So a
mm.
lot of the science classes can count as both. So they have an event to go to today for that, which will be fun. So I'll have a little bit of time by myself, but I'm kind of easing back into work. It was difficult with you gone, first of all, so I'm glad you're back.
What's it?
And we have a big webinar tomorrow with our friends at JobVite. So we've
Yeah,
been working on that all last week.
I've been working on that a little bit today as well.
That's right. So people can follow that. We'll tweet it and we'll share it on LinkedIn as well. So
Mhm.
um, anyway, yeah. So you were gone. You know what? It's funny. I had technical difficulty on Monday, so I wound up doing an off the clock on Tuesday, which was
That's
fine. And my goal was to try and do another one on Friday because my daughter was going to be at the Illinois State IHSA Bowling Championship tournament,
mhm.
and I have to tell you, first of all, it took me 9 hours. We had a huge snowstorm,
What?
hit the middle of the country, right? Huge
I heard about
snowstorm.
that storm. It almost got in the way of some travel plans I had as well. Yeah.
I can't even tell you, Steve, like, I'm a pretty good driver. We get snow and ice in St. Louis, a couple times a year, so it's not like I'm not used to driving in snow. So I was going, if anybody knows, kind of St. Louis is right in the middle of the country, and I was going up towards Chicago,
It's a
right?
heartland, as they say.
The heartland. About a 4.5-hour drive under normal conditions. It took 9 hours, and by the
What?
time I got yes, by the time I got to Springfield, Illinois, um, it was freezing
Shout out
rain,
President
huge
Lincoln.
snow. I got back on the highway, and I had my parents with me, and long story short, like, it got to be a whiteout conditions. I literally could not see. So I'm driving my brand new car with my mom and dad in the car. So I'm already feeling like, "Oh goodness, I've got to take care of them extra
Mm.
good," right? I've never been so terrified, honestly. Like, you could not see anything. You couldn't see the exits to even get off. So I'm like gripping the wheel like, "What do I do? I can't get off."
Right. Right.
Um, and about every half a mile, and I'm not exaggerating, about every half mile, you would see a jackknife tractor trailer or a flipped over tractor trailer or cars and SUVs and everything off the roads and flipped over. Like they were just happening because it was whiteout conditions. So it was scary. I drove for about an hour and 15 minutes in that, like, with hazards on 20 miles an hour, not seeing the lane, just
Wow.
going off of my GPS, the picture on my GPS, because you couldn't get off anywhere. Nothing was plowed.
Wow.
And it hit so suddenly. So very scary stuff. And I don't know if you saw on the news, you were out of the country. I won't say where you were, but you were out of the country. No, there was, for people who are watching, there was 100-car pileup in
100
the
car
middle,
pilot. I think I did see
100
the news
100
story about
vehicle
that. Yeah. Yeah.
pileup in Illinois. That was 3 miles. I stopped 3 miles before that, like, as
Hmm.
it was happening. So, I called my son who was in another vehicle, and I'm like, "I can't do this. Please help me." And he said, "Okay, I'm gonna find a good spot for you to get off, mom." He tells me, he's like, "Get off at exit 5." I'm like, "Okay." So, it was like a downhill exit. So, we're thinking, like, even though I couldn't see anything, I had trust, thank God, in GPS, but I get off the highway and we go to the very first thing, which is a gas station, and we stop, everybody's stopping, we're all kind of panicked, and they were like, "Oh, the highway's shutting down because there is a
Wow.
huge accident up ahead." We didn't know how huge, right? 3 miles
Okay.
ahead, I would have been in it. So, lots of stress,
Yeah, winter's
9
kind of a
hours.
drag, isn't it? Doesn't it need to be over by now? I'm ready for it to be over. I don't want to be cold anymore. It's cold here a little bit
I
today,
know,
as a matter of fact. Yeah.
but we made it to bowling.
Mm.
And she did really well. She actually placed 30th out of 125 individual girls, and again, these are girls that are the top, top, top of their game, and then there are 12 teams also.
Okay.
So, overall, if you consider, because they have, like, separate categories. Teams are separate from individuals until the very end, and, she was 30th of the individual 125, I think it was, and then overall, after 2 days, she was 52nd out
Okay.
of several hundred, like 300-ish girls.
Wow.
So we're so proud of
Well,
her,
there you
but
go.
here I was gonna ask you if you've ever seen a moment like this, because she didn't just, like, place 30th. Her and another girl placed 30th, tied for 30th
Ah.
by 1 pin. 1 pin all day.
Yeah.
Had to have a roll off. I've never even heard of this. Have you heard of
But,
this?
like, you throw, like, 1 shot each and whoever gets the best score?
So
Yeah.
they get 2 practice shots. So they get up there to do their practice shots. Carly gets 2 strikes. I'm like, "Yes, okay." And the girl was a lefty and Carly's a right-handed person, so
Yeah, you gotta watch those lefties. They're tricky.
she
Hefty.
lost.
Mm.
She lost it by 1 pin.
Wow.
Now, I'll tell you what, though, to have it was over 1,000 people crowded around these 2 girls.
Really?
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if anybody remembers, like, who won every single year of, a state bowling competition for high school girls.
I only know about the last 9 or 7
Do ya?
years. Yeah, after that, I get a little fuzzy.
And even if people don't remember these 2 young women's names, but, I think they will not forget the fact that there was a roll-off for that position. It was
Yeah, it's pretty
crazy
dramatic.
cool. It
Yeah.
was so cool. So
What was
Carly
more
feels
what was
really
more dramatic, the roll-off or the white knuckle drive through the through the whiteout conditions?
I have to tell you, I need a day off, Steve. Can I have the day off? Because I feel like
It
I'm
is
really
President's Day,
stressed.
as I said, I'm trying to think about which presidential legacy, I'm most interested in recalling today.
Okay, which one?
Maybe an
It's funny, I've heard
underrated
a lot of
one.
people talking today.
I
Who
feel like
who is your
Lincoln.
favorite or greatest presidents?
I don't know exactly because it's easy to go Lincoln, Washington, right? FDR, right? They get the most props, generally speaking. I feel like maybe on President's Day, we should like take 5 minutes and, think about an underrated or a forgotten type president. Like,
Okay,
I'm not even, I don't, like Millard Fillmore, doesn't get
look him
much
up.
love or respect. He's not on like a $10 bill or a
Right.
$5 bill. We don't even know. I mean, if I said to like an average, like 17-year-old, oh, maybe they have to study history in school. I don't know.
They
But like,
might know. Yeah.
which do you remember Millard Fillmore? Does anybody like, oh yeah, great. I don't even know what year he was president, by the way. I don't even know.
You
Just that was
don't
the first name that popped in my head of like a kind of nondescript
Yeah.
president from the past or
Maybe that can be our homework. We'll come back later in the week with some information on Millard Fillmore.
a legacy
You're
of Millard
right.
Fillmore. Yeah.
It's interesting because I can remember, obviously, like, I think, back to, like, Nixon, when I was a little
Mm.
kid, barely, like, barely, and beyond that, it's, like, what you remember from school, but, yeah, it's really spotty, I think, as to what we remember about presidents or what even makes them great, right? I did hear an interesting fact today, I was listening to NPR, and they were talking about Lincoln because
Not getting
everybody
impeached
always
would be one, probably. Yeah.
Who?
Not getting impeached would be kind of
Oh.
a thing I would shoot for.
Yeah, it was interesting though, they were talking about Lincoln and everybody says Lincoln, right? But one thing, a fact I didn't know, and maybe you know this, um, but he was not only, president and trying to go through all of the things with the Civil War and all that, but like battles were actually being fought Like, you know where Dulles Airport is right now in relation to the White House?
Vaguely. I don't know.
It's close. I mean, it's like
Okay.
20, 30 minutes away.
Mhm.
There were battles going on like that close to, I think it was called the executive residence or the executive mansion or something at that
Mm.
point. It wasn't even called the White House yet, but
Okay.
yeah, so here he was trying to run the country and he's like in the middle of the battles, basically.
Wow.
The Confederates were winning that close to his
Yeah.
house. So
I do know a
like,
little bit of Civil War history. They
yeah,
did have the upper hand for a while, and then it all kind of went the wrong way for them. Kind of Gettysburg was the turning point,
yeah.
largely probably of that war. And well, we've done a ton of that. We've done whole podcasts on Gettysburg in the past. That's a great story and a great
Yeah.
great period of American history. But yeah, so yeah, happy President's Day, folks.
Happy
Hopefully
President's
enjoying
Day.
it, and yeah, enjoying the day off if you've got it. Absolutely.
Yeah. So did you I wanted to end on like one fun thing you did last week. So I know you worked a little because I saw you were online working with me on a few things, but was there one
I
really
didn't,
relaxing thing you did or
I read a book last week. I actually
Oh,
finished it after I got home. I finished it yesterday, but I read a book called The 90s by one of my favorite authors, Chuck
oh,
Klosterman, who's
okay.
written a number of really, really great books. It's a nonfiction book, highly recommend it. It's called The 90s. It's kind of a look back on a lot of the big cultural and societal events of the 90s. It's kind of an essay book. So each chapter is about kind of a different thing, music or movies or a little bit of politics in there, not a ton.
Right.
Just things that were going on in technology, the rise of the internet. Awesome book. I highly recommend it. That was probably kind of one of the cool things I did was read that book.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's a little bit of relaxation. That's fun.
Yeah, it was great.
Good stuff. I was trying to read a book, but I'm not I'll share more about that on the next one because we're kind of running out of time. But anyway, Brene Brown book. So,
Mm,
you
okay.
know, she's always very inspirational. So but I know it's not when you have to read like cover to cover. I like books like that sometimes where you can kind of skip around and pick out
Yeah,
little nuggets that apply to you. So anyway, that was kind of interesting. But we will share
cool.
that later in the week.
Good
So
stuff.
well, I hope you have a good day. Thanks for taking a little bit of a break with me. And thanks for everyone for listening. I'm glad we're back. We'll be back again here on Wednesday about the same time. Give us any ideas of what we should be thinking about, talking about. I know we have a couple podcast episodes about ready to come out, so be looking for those wherever you
Mhm.
get your favorite podcasts for the HR Happy Hour. And we will see you back here on Wednesday. Bye for now.